Okay. Hi, Michelle. How are you? It's so good to
I'm,
see you.
I'm really good. It's nice to see you face to face.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
you know what? That's what's so cool about technology. Because we are still face to face. It's a little different. But when
Yeah.
we work out together, I can still see your body moving. You can still see my body moving. It just takes a little getting used to. And thank you so much for doing this because I know it takes time, it takes energy to set aside a chunk of your day to just chit chat with me, and I do appreciate that. I want you to know that.
Well, I appreciate you as well.
Thank you. Well, we've had a long history, huh? I mean, I think we've
We
been
have.
together for almost 20 years.
I'm trying to remember. I want to say it's more like, well, right when you opened the shop or the studio.
That was 18 years ago.
Oh gosh, really? Okay. Then it is what it is.
I hate to say it, but yeah, it is. Um, I want to start with asking you what is it that made you want to commit to an exercise program, and how did you get to come into Absolute Best and get started with me?
Well, it was more than want. It was essentially feeling out of control and desperate to understand a recent diagnosis of diabetes, which really kind of took me by surprise. I never expected it. And I knew I was overweight, and I knew it because I couldn't walk very far without my hips hurting or being completely winded. And I avoided those situations. But I was suddenly in the vortex of trying to understand what I had to do to continue to live a life of quality. And there's a lot of anxiety that goes with it. And coupled with that was my husband also had been diagnosed with diabetes, but at a much higher level. And so I'm trying to navigate his anxiety, my anxiety. What do we eat? How do we shift? What the heck do we do now? And I was introduced to you, and I reluctantly went there to see what you had to offer because I really wasn't convinced that that's what I needed to do. What happened is you put me on the elliptical machine, and I couldn't do 1 minute without feeling like I was going to collapse. And that's when I literally went down, spiraled down a little bit more. I was thinking, oh, this is I'm beyond, I'm beyond help, is what I really thought. But you said to me, I'm going to get you to a place where you love exercise. I have to tell you, it's been a lot of years of just doing what I needed to do, but not crusting over into I love it.
Right. We got to be honest with
Yeah,
ourselves, right?
let's be honest. I did it because I knew I had to. I did it. I did lose, just to recall, when I got to you, I was 235 pounds. I
Michelle,
don't
how
know if
much
you're
do you weigh now?
I weigh 170.
I didn't
Now I know
realize
that's
that.
still in the obese category, but it changed my life to lose all of that weight,
Wow.
mostly because I was mobile again. I still um, felt limitations, mostly regarding in the last few years more about advancing arthritis in different parts of my body.
What was it inside of you that pushed you to go through and do what you knew you had to do against all adversity, against your mindset saying, I hate this, I don't like exercise, I don't want to do it. How did you find the strength to overcome that and still do it anyway?
Well, it goes actually back to the doctor who initially gave me the diagnosis. And we were talking about diet and what we had to do and all of that. And I said how difficult it was because Gary worked nights. He came home for dinner at 10. I had to learn to stop eating dinner at 10 and then going to bed. That was a big thing for me. So I had to learn how to make things that I could cook and he could eat 3 hours later. And but I said to the doctor, well, you don't understand. This is how we live. And he goes,
Wow.
he's a grown blank blank man. And you have to take care of you regardless. And he's had a lot of health issues, but he's pretty stable right now. And he's aware now of how much he has to pay attention. And answer to your question, I didn't really feel like I had one thing driving me. I was really just putting one foot in front of the other for quite a long time
Yeah.
until I realized how much strength I was actually getting from the process. And what I did notice, this was huge actually, and I didn't really think about this until recently. After I lost the weight, as long as I was working out with you, the scale, it used to vary 5 pounds in a day, up and down and all over. Now it's just the same. And it doesn't really matter what I eat, I'm just the same. And it's not because I'm dieting, it's just that I'm trying to eat healthier things. Uh, and it just stabilized everything.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
I became aware that the exercise was the contributing factor to stabilizing my weight.
Yeah. So in other words, but something inside of you had to be strong enough to say, it doesn't matter what the outside world is saying. The inside Michelle is saying, I got to do something. I haven't really given it a go. Let me try. Let me see. And you did it. And I commend you for it because that's tough, to just go ahead and do it anyway.
I think that a huge part of why I kept coming back is because of you. And I don't mean that in a, just to compliment you. What you kept doing was understanding where I was. You did not criticize me when I slipped backwards. You just put me back on course. You understood my limitations. And you also understood that and I came to understand that I have a particular problem with no, I don't sweat, and I understand that you need to sweat to cool off.
Yeah.
I can barely be 5 minutes into something, and I'm so hot that I literally feel like my body's going to explode outward.
Wow.
And honestly, in your studio, you remember me? We had to drag that big ass fan all around.
Oh, I know. I remember that. And I'm
Yeah.
trying to look at my notes because I never remember what the name of that condition is. It's anhydroses. Anhydroses. So,
But I
that's
never got a diagnosis of that. I just observed that's how I am. And I knew that every time I exerted too much, just energy, just walking too much, I would reach a point where I had to get in the shade or in the cool, or I was going to faint.
yeah.
And so that is what I'm sure held me back a lot, most of my life. I remember when the coach said after class, everyone take a lap. I was always the last one in. And I was never overweight. I was always like a size 8. I just simply couldn't manage the breathing and the
Well, you
heat.
got overheated. Your
Yeah,
body's mechanism said, no, you can't do
yeah.
this because you're going to overheat, and that's not good for us. I'm going to put a link in underneath our discussion so that people can look it up, because there are things that you can do, and you do it. You keep yourself cool. You're supposed to use loose clothing. If you get too overheated, you're supposed to drink a lot of water. And the thing is that with that condition, there's sweat glands that don't work properly. And so when you sweat, when you perspire, it's the body's air conditioning mechanism. And if you can't sweat, then you can't cool your body back down again. And that will stop you from pushing hard because your body's systems begin to shut down. That's a lot of conditions that you had to get over.
I actually more than that, I had to become aware of them. I didn't really put all those pieces together. And if we're really getting serious, That's an endocrine system problem, which so is diabetes. So, and it even goes back to when I was a teenager and nothing was actually normal for me. Um, it's all connected. But there was, in those days, there wasn't a diagnosis for any of that.
No.
So,
Well, I really do. I really do commend you for doing what you're doing and just pushing along. Um, I also wanted to talk a little bit about mindset, because I think that yes, you were aware of these conditions, but you knew you had the diabetes diagnosis, you knew that you had to change everything in your lifestyle. So within creating that new lifestyle, you had to recreate a mindset for that. Is there anything that you can share as far as what you did?
you know, it wasn't magic. It wasn't, it just sort of evolved and became my new norm. Really, I can't say that I am one that will be inspired by a lot of things that I read, but there was no impetus for any of that for continuing. This was, I'm giving you a lot of credit for just keeping me in the game. Otherwise, it would have been very easy to stop and forget about it. And you never let me do that, but you didn't do it in a way that I resented or I got mad at you and left. You know, it was always kind. It was always for my own benefit, and I recognize that. The other thing is, I've always appreciated that when we work out, you always start with how are you feeling today? Any parts we have to, be aware of. And if you've gotten me through a couple of knee injuries, you've got me through a couple of hip issues more lately. And I I don't like gyms. I don't like professional gyms. They stink. They're hot. They're creepy. And the people who try to help you are 20. They don't understand me at my age and my limitations. You've always worked with me on keeping me able to do the things that I am able to do that benefit me.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just talking to my friend Kathy Smith last night. She's somebody who's really, really good at driving her message to fitness enthusiasts that are just people, not these people that have those six packs and are in the gym every day, just ordinary folk like you and me who just, I just want to be healthy. And one of the things that she always said to me was, Clarita, you have to make sure that the people you're working with need to feel a sense of success. Because if you don't, then it's like all blocks go up at one time. You see, I knew this wasn't for me. They can do it. Nobody's going to give me what I need because there's no way I'm going to be able to compete with that level. So I really do think that that was a big lesson for me. I really took it to heart, and I've always tried to get my arms around, okay, where are you today? Because it changes from day to day, doesn't it?
It certainly does, because that brings me actually to my more recent situation, which is a year ago, actually, a year and a couple weeks ago, I had the first hip situation where we were away, and all of a sudden I couldn't walk. And when I got home, I had the MRI and I had full blown bursitis in the hip joint, and it was months. And I was going to PT. That really wasn't doing anything for me, to be honest. I mean, they would do little things, but it was nothing that I felt actually was improving my situation. And I was hurting so much that I kept canceling you. And I kept canceling you because I was hurting. And then here was actually my turning point for the last all these years, was really the first time this happened to me.
Yeah.
I got weak. I couldn't step up and down. I couldn't go up and down my stairs. I would get up to go to the bathroom and I suddenly would lurch and grab a wall because I thought I was going to fall. And I'm going, what is wrong with me? And I realized how bad how weak I was getting and how fast it was happening. And so I made the decision, we're paying for all these other things. Why am I not paying her? So this really was where I said I need to go back to working out just to get myself back to where I was
Right.
because I had failed so much so
Yeah.
fast. And it scared me.
Yeah.
It's enough that I felt when they say that people start falling, I literally felt I was coming to that point and
Yeah.
I didn't feel old enough for that to be happening. So I stopped the PT and I went back with you. And I am not kidding you, within 3 weeks of starting with you again, and it was the first few weeks were painful because I hadn't done anything. But I started feeling the strength come back. I
Yeah.
started feeling energy come back. And that today is my motivation. That
Wow.
today is why I keep doing this.
And so I think it's a cultural mindset that we all have to condition ourselves to accept that our health is our own responsibility.
Yes,
Yes, it's important to have health care and insurance for acute injuries that happen, surgeries that you have to go into. But for some reason, the insurance companies and that complex that takes care of our health in that way, they don't look at preventative medicine as a necessary expense for them.
right.
It just doesn't compute. I have a saying, and recently I've been saying it much more than ever, is your health is your wealth. I mean, you're a real estate agent. You make good money. How are you going to go out, walk up the hills, walk upstairs, go show people these homes if you don't have your health, if you don't have the ability because your hip hurts?
First of all, we're blessed that as retirees, we can afford it. Not everyone can, I recognize that.
Right.
But I also know that people join a gym in January. They're paying and not going by the end of January. And that again goes back for me, just this is me. I can't go in that environment and get anything out of it.
Right.
I'm guessing what I'm supposed to be doing on these machines. I literally can't stand the smell of the heat and jockeying germs. I'm not a germaphobe, really, but that's just that's gross.
Yeah, those places are pretty grody.
But even when you and I were in the studio, I never had that feeling there. It was small, it was functional as functional,
Mhm.
but you was also guided by you. And so I always knew that what we were doing was targeting where I needed, and you also mixed it up. It was never boring, never boring. But COVID, of course, changed all of our lives forever
Right.
in ways
Right.
that we can all still appreciate in some ways. And for me, you and I being able to communicate in this method
Yeah.
suits me just fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's sometimes it's a mental hurdle for people in regards to the economic side of things, but it really is. I mean, people spend $5 on a cup of coffee every freaking day. I just hope people understand and people see the merit behind having a personal coach, having somebody who holds you by the hand and says, hey, how you doing today? Maybe we shouldn't do that today. How about today we stick with just floor work? We'll get down, we'll get on the cylinder, we'll roll out, we'll open up the hips. And, we don't always do sit and fit. We don't always do the same thing. We just
Right.
target what it is that we need. And that's another thing that as I'm talking, because a lot of people can't get down on the floor. But through sit and fit, you can use the chair to anchor yourself, to kneel down, use your upper body to help you down, help yourself back up again. Eventually, the goal is, when I start people out with sit and fit, it's a starting point. I want to get people to know that, yes, it is possible. It may be difficult. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. It may be difficult to get down on the floor, but you can do it if you know functionally, structurally, mechanically how to do it.
Right. I will say that our workout yesterday, we are was particularly well, you changed it up.
Right.
We had new things, new methods, new positions, new whatever, and we're both feeling it today for sure. But
Well,
I also
but
know that's
it's a good feeling, right?
yeah, and it's because I know that I wasn't using those muscles.
Right.
And when Gary says, "Well, I hurt," I go, "Because now you'll be stronger." Because I do get that. That I understand. I've understood that for a long time.
Do you have any before and after pictures?
Well, I only have one, but I have to laugh because I took a black felt tip pen, and I blacked out the parts of me I didn't want to have anymore. And it made me look like wanted to how I wanted to be. That has been on my mirror in my closet all these years. It's still there.
God, that
And
is magic.
it if there was any inspiration, I have to say that was one of them.
Wow, but you know what? That is really cool, Michelle, that
I
you,
saw it, I don't know, somewhere they said, yeah, if you want to imagine your goal, it was kind of like goal setting. And I just took that pen and I just put the shape I wanted to be, and I blacked out all the rest of it. And it's a lot. It's not a hairline, it's a lot. And I'll take it off the mirror, I'll scan it and send it to you.
and you know
Um,
what would be really cool is if you took a picture now and put it side by side with that silhouette and that you were trying to aspire towards and where you're at now. I'll bet you it's real close. You should do
uh,
that.
I don't know if it's close, but it's certainly a lot more. But yeah, I've changed sizes a lot.
Wow. Well,
So
that's good. That's a good thing. Oh yeah. That's one of the things that I wanted to talk about. You know, as women and as caretakers and as doers and as control freaks, um, what advice would you give somebody about acceptance of other people's feedback, getting around that stuff because it's hard when you have a partner who's not really in track and online with what you're trying to do and where you're trying to go with your health and fitness. Um,
well, I
what
will say
tips?
I have to be fair. Um, my husband does not ever criticize me, has never criticized me. The changes from when he met me to where I am now was never brought up. I don't deal with that, and vice versa. I don't tell him either.
Yeah.
However, um, I do try to encourage him to eat what I'm cooking. And I've learned if he doesn't want to eat it, I don't take it personal. I used to. I used to say, well, I cooked this meal and you should eat it. I can't, I have to give certain things up.
Yeah.
I think as far as what other people think, part of the tenets of the company that I work for, we have what's called the Y4C2Ts, and it's basically a culture, a list of things for culture. And part of what they teach is what other people think of you is none of your business. And so I've always felt that way. And honestly, I don't care what people think. Really don't care what people think about me. I do my best to be a good person. I don't go overboard trying to make them like me, but I also don't do anything to offend people.
Right.
I live my life very much live and let live. I have people around me, many, who don't quite live that way, and I have to do the live and let live with them, even though I may not agree with the way they operate. But at the end of the day, I've learned that these things that contribute to stress and anxiety, which contribute to a lot of things that are not good for us, and I just let a lot go. I've just let a lot of things at the end of the day do not matter.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
with my kids, I stay in my own lane. If they need my help, I told them you can ask me anything, but I'm not going to offer anything that's unsolicited. And
Right.
that's just how I live. And that's kind of,
Yeah,
do I care what other people think I look like? Not really. As
yeah,
long as I'm taking care of me,
yes, yeah,
that's the important thing.
yeah, yeah. Live and
I don't know
let
if that
live.
makes sense.
No, that makes
But
total sense. Total sense. I think that the obstacles that you overcame and the conditions that you were faced with and you still did it anyway, that's what makes you the rising star. It's not like you start as one, you have to throw yourself into something. Would you agree?
I do very much. But I think we've had a mutually agreeable situation where you help me, I help you. We our paths have crossed in many ways since then, and it's always been respected and
Yeah.
enjoyable.
Yeah, well, I love you very much. And I
Love
am
you.
so thankful and so grateful that you did this interview with me because really it means so much to me. And I know that even if one person says, yeah, if she can do it, then I can do it. One person says that, we've
You know
helped.
what? I have to share with you. I had my semi-annual doctor's appointment, and everything was in normal range, and she was so thrilled. And um, I was telling her about Sit and Fit. She wrote it down, my doctor. And I was explaining, some things to her, and she just could not tell me how wonderful it was and how she was so proud. And it was a really interesting interaction with my doctor.
Love it. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, hopefully, more and more people will realize the benefits of sit and fit and beyond, because there's just so much more after sit and fit. I mean, even as we do sit and fit, we do bar, we do Pilates, we do yoga, we do get down on the floor and do
Yeah.
floor exercises. We do myofascial release so there's just so much, but you have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
So I so appreciate you, Michelle. And yeah, I'm gonna piece this together for us and I'll send you a copy.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Love you.
Love you too. Bye bye.
Bye.